Hey, it's good to have you here. Episode 51. Nothing in nature is perfect. Why perfectionism holds you back. Perfectionism can feel like discipline, but is it quietly holding you back? In this episode of Pivot Era Podcast, we explore perfectionism in Gen Z work, career pivots, and finding purpose, and why starting imperfectly might be the real win. There's something quietly comforting about looking at the world closely. The Earth itself isn't perfectly round. It bulges slightly at the middle. Your heartbeat doesn't follow a flawless rhythm. Even your face isn't fully symmetrical, and yet none of these things feel broken. They feel alive. Picture this. It's late. Your laptop screen is the only light in the room. You've rewritten the same paragraph 5 times now. AI rewrites isn't helping either. You hover over publish, and then you don't click it. Not because it's bad, but because it's not perfect. So you close the tab instead. And somehow that feels safer. Perfectionism has a quiet voice. It doesn't shout. It doesn't look like fear. It sounds responsible, thoughtful, like high standards. It tells you, just one more tweak. Just a little better. Not yet. And on the surface, it can look like discipline. That's why it's confusing. Because sometimes, perfectionism does create winners. But other times, it quietly builds people who never start. This is the point. So I want you to think of it this way. How often do we wonder and ask, is perfectionism helping me or holding me back? Not many, I guess. Especially in today's Gen Z work culture, where everything is visible, shareable, and instantly judged. The pressure to be polished before you're ready feels constant. Your first attempt isn't just your first attempt anymore. It's content. It's your identity. It's your brand. And suddenly, trying feels risky. Here's something I've been sitting with. Perfectionism isn't really about excellence. It's about protection. Protection from embarrassment, protection from rejection, protection from being seen too early. I know how that feels too. So let's break this down and think about it. If something is never finished, it can't be judged. If it's never shared, it can't fail. If you keep refining, you never have to risk being enough as you are right now. And that's where perfectionism quietly shifts. From a tool into a cage. There's a version of perfectionism that helps. The kind that says, I care about what I'm building. It sharpens your work. It pushes you to learn. It gives you pride in your craft. That version builds winners. But then there's the other version, the one that whispers, if it's not flawless, it's worthless. That version doesn't push you forward. It freezes you in place. It turns growth into hesitation and effort into avoidance. And over time, that version doesn't create winners. It creates people who almost tried. And if I'm being honest, sometimes people who never try. Maybe you've felt that before. The almost. Almost launching something. Almost applying for that role. Almost sharing your idea. But waiting to feel more ready, more certain, more perfect. There's a quiet cost to that waiting. Because while you're refining, life is moving. Opportunities don't always wait for polished versions of you. They often meet you in your unfinished state. This is something people don't talk about enough in conversations around career pivot or finding purpose. We imagine clarity comes first, that confidence arrives, and then we act. But more often, clarity comes because you acted imperfectly. You don't find your voice by perfecting it in private. You find it by using it publicly, awkwardly, and honestly, that includes getting things wrong as well. So maybe the real question isn't, does perfectionism make winners or losers? Maybe it's, which version of perfectionism are you listening to? The builder or the protector? Because one will help you create something meaningful, and the other will keep you safe, but unseen. There's a small shift that can change everything. Instead of asking, is this perfect? Instead ask, is this the best I can do today? Perfectionism often lives in the future, in the one day I'll be ready version of you. But your life is happening in the present version, the one who is still learning, still unsure, still becoming, and maybe that version deserves to be seen too. Don't get me wrong, this can be uncomfortable. It might give you sweaty palms, a racing heart, but it will also make you feel alive. On Pivot Era Podcast, we talk a lot about transitions, and one thing I've noticed, the people who move forward aren't always the most talented. They're the ones willing to be visible before they feel ready. They don't wait for perfection. They practice in public. They let things be messy, human, unfinished. And through that, they become better. So here's something gentle to sit with today. What are you holding back on because it's not perfect yet? And what might happen if you let it exist anyway? Think of it differently. Not everything you create needs to be exceptional. Some things just need to be real. I'm a big believer in this. Get it to 80% and let the remaining 20% happen through iteration. So maybe perfectionism doesn't decide winners or losers. Maybe it decides who participates and who stays on the sidelines. And if you've been on the sidelines for a while, that's okay. There's no judgment here, just an invitation to, maybe, to begin a little earlier than you planned, to share a little sooner than feels comfortable, to trust that growth will meet you on the way, because the version of you that's not ready yet is still worthy of being seen. And you never know, my friends, that this is where everything starts. Just for you. This is an AI voice-powered podcast shared by humans who simply want to connect across generations and normalize the art of starting again. New episodes drop weekly. Share it with someone who's navigating their own pivot or who needs to hear that beginnings aren't failures. They're growth.